What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel where today we're going to finish up the body work, the paint work, and we're going to put back together this 2006 Bentley Continental Flying Spur Project. Now previously we had removed our parts from our parts car, I had jammed out the inside of the doors, and now it's time to focus on the outside of the parts, prepping them for paint. But before we get to that,
every day, millions of creators upload their videos to YouTube for them to never be seen. But with a couple of views, a like, and a sub, for the price of free, you can help these YouTubers struggling with the algorithm and AI. So go now and help out, before it's too late.
So today we're out here doing filler work on the Bentley panels, and this is our replacement fender. And as you can see, I've already laid out a little bit of filler, and I've got some guide coat on there to kind of guide us when we go to sand. And you can see this thing definitely had a few little dents here, had a couple chips around the headlights, had a little issue right here on the corner where it meets the bumper cover, and we also had a little issue here. And we're going to get all this addressed. We're going to sand this down, put it in primer, and then the fender will be ready for paint. And we're also back working on the front bumper cover once again. Now I've pretty much addressed all of our areas that have all the cracks. As you can see, I've sanded everything down on the back side. That way we can use some of our panel bond, and we can bond some plastic material to the back to kind of reinforce all of these different areas. Now this has taken quite a bit of prep work to get to this point, but I want to be able to get this done today so I can flip it over on the other side and I can start doing the filler work on the outside of the panel. And in conjunction with doing the body work on the Bentley panels, I'm actually doing body work to the Rolls-Royce project. So if you are interested in the Rolls-Royce project, be sure to check it out. Now that our body filler has dried, it's time to sand these areas down with 180 grit sandpaper and get it ready for primer. And here's the finished product. Now I went ahead and primed all these spots, and I went ahead and I wet sanded it down with 400 grit sandpaper, and we've got all of our areas nice and straight. Also over here on the bumper cover, I went ahead and I've laid down our panel bond and reinforced all of our areas. You can see here all these areas that were cracked. I reinforced them with plastic, as you can see, all through these areas. It took quite a bit. Now I know this is not going to be the prettiest thing, but this is what you have to do if you want this bumper to be strong. You'll never see this unless you take the bumper cover off, and hopefully nobody will have to take this thing off for a very long time. Now with the back of the bumper cover reinforced, we can focus our efforts on the outside of the bumper cover, which is the area that you will see all these areas where it was cracked. They're all plastic welded back together, but we need to do a little bit of filler work before we can do some of the priming and the painting. So that's what we're going to jump on to next. After a bunch of sanding, priming, body work, prep work, we finally have our inflatable paint booth up, and we've got it all set up, and we've got all our parts ready. We're going to take a look at them. We got our small parts here. That's like our door handles, and for our washers for the headlights. We have our fender. All the body work's done, as you can see. It's prepped, ready to go. Over here we have the front bumper, which took a lot of time. There was a lot of body work involved and a lot of prep work. There's a lot of different angles and all kinds of little nooks and crannies that you need to sand and get it ready so it can be sprayed. Then we have finally our doors, our front and rear door. And as you can see, everything is taped off. And you know, this prep work takes a long time. This is where all the work is when it comes to painting something, is all the prep work. You gotta sand all this stuff down. You gotta put wax and grease remover on it. You gotta tape up everything. It's just a lot of work. So let me talk a little bit about this inflatable booth. Now this is the second time that I've used this thing. I've used this thing one time before, and that was to paint the Rolls-Royce parts. And I'm pretty happy with the way it works. There are a few little modifications that I have made to it. As you can see, I bought me a little dog tunnel here, and that way I can hook a fan to get a little bit more airflow out of there, because the air doesn't flow through this thing very well. It stays inflated, but the airflow, it's I don't know, it just doesn't flow too well. We've got vents on both sides and in the back, and then if we come back here to the back, you can see that we actually have a pusher fan which actually pushes air in, and it only really just pushes it into this back room. And as you can see, there's the back sides of our filters, but it pressurizes this room and kind of pushes the air out through these filters, and it just doesn't really, so to say, clear the air out very well. So I'm trying a new tactic. I'm gonna leave this back door open. So I've got the other fan up front pulling the air out, and if that's not enough, then we'll put another fan right here on the side, which is where I actually had one last time to kind of help with the airflow. But I think this setup right here is going to be a little bit better. So now that everything's prepped, we just need to give it all a final wipe down, go over with some tack rags, and we're ready to spray some paint. All the parts are sprayed, and we're going to let this stuff dry. And we didn't really have too many issues, but we did have a couple. We've got some small runs on the bumper cover and the fender, and that's because there's a little bit of low lighting in here. That's pretty much my fault with the gun setup, but that's not anything that we can't fix. Here's our little small pieces. They turned out real well. We've got our mirror hanging there, and we have our doors. Now here is where I had an issue. Now this is not necessarily my fault, but do not use cheap paint. And the reason I say this, and the reason I go by that, is because everything that we had to do, all the sanding, all the taping up, the masking off, the wiping down, all of the prep, you have to do the same amount of prep, whether you're going to lay down cheap paint or you're going to lay down expensive paint. Now this paint right here is pretty expensive, and most paint for the most part is expensive. But if you decide you're going to lay down cheap paint, you're going to have issues, and that's exactly what's happened. So apparently these doors had been painted before, and they used some kind of cheap clear coat like a 1K or like a rattle can, some kind of enamel, and that stuff doesn't react very well to good paint. And let me show you what's happened. So if you look right here, it might be kind of hard to see. You can see this graininess, and what that is, that's where the base coat reacted to the clear coat, and it caused it to have that little effect in there. Now if you look down it, because I did clear over top of it, it is slick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to come back and let this dry, and I'm going to wet sand this down with 800, and then we're going to go back on top of this with the base coat, and we're going to re-clear this, and that should correct all of our issues, because this clear coat will kind of seal all that stuff in. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not going to make the paint lift. It just reacted and mixed in there, and it'll harden back up. But now that we have the clear coat on there, it's kind of like a protective covering. So we'll just base coat both of these doors and re-clear them again, and we should be able to fix all these little issues, and it'll be nice and slick like the rest of our parts. After waiting about 3 hours for the initial paint to cure, I scuffed down the doors and re-sprayed them, base coat, clear coat, and as you can see, all of our issues are gone. It looks nice and slick. Same thing here with the driver's door, nice and slick. All of our little paint issues have gone away, as you can see. And these things turned out really nice. first look at the Bentley out in the light, and as you can see, our paint matches up pretty well. Now it is a little bit darker than say our quarter panel here, and we're gonna probably have to do a little bit of blend once it warms up a little bit. It's kind of cold right now in the middle of the winter, but as you can see, it looks pretty good. And what we're going to do today is we're going to take this thing back to the house, and we're going to get our front bumper assembly on. And the reason I want to do that is because our front bumper cover is so fragile. I really don't want to take a risk of transporting it out here loosely just to get it on the car. I think it'll be a lot safer to get it on the car at the house. So that's just what we're going to do. Now I've got the front bumper cover up on the fender stand so we can do the final touches, and that means we're adding in our foam, our wiring harness, our parking sensors, our side markers, and our chrome trim. So this thing is pretty much complete. It's ready to put onto the car, so let's get to it. So after all that hard work, it's time to present to you the repaired Bentley. So there you have it. All the body panels are looking really good. I'm really happy with the way this paint matches up, seeing that I pretty much had to custom mix this stuff by doing a bunch of spray outs, and it really does match up really good. It is still kind of dirty. It needs a little bit of a detail. There's a few other little minor things that I need to do to this thing before it's totally complete, but for the most part, this thing is complete. Now, there are a couple issues that I had, mostly up here with this front bumper cover. Now, you know these things are very expensive, and you saw I done the repair to this front bumper cover. A lot of reinforcing from the back, but I do still have some issues. So I went to go put this thing on. I started having these cracks appear when I tried to snap them into our brackets. It happened on this side, and it also happened over here on the driver's side. Now, these are areas that were not cracked before. So here's my theory on the front bumper covers. Now, these things are hard plastic from the factory, which really doesn't make any sense because if you touch these things, they will literally just crumble in your hands. And the fact that this car came from the desert Southwest in Arizona, you know, this thing was subject to some extreme heat in the 100-degree plus range. So my theory is that this car went through a lot of heat and it just deteriorated that front bumper cover, and it just made it even more brittle. You know, I could take it back off and make those repairs and put it back on, but then again, I'm probably going to have that same problem again. It'll probably crack in a different area, and this paint is a custom match, and I probably wouldn't be able to get it correct. It wouldn't look quite as good as it does right now. For the time being, you know, it doesn't need to be perfect. The car's not perfect. It's a salvage title car. It's very presentable. You probably wouldn't even notice those unless I really pointed them out to you. I mean, it's just, overall, it's a really nice car. It drives good, it rides good, it has low miles. It's a lot lower miles than the other two Bentleys that I had, and I'm pretty happy with it. So now we have one more project complete. Now it's time to move on to a new project. So until then, I'd like to say thank you for watching. Be sure you check out all my videos on all my other projects. And if you're not subscribed, then consider clicking the subscribe button. Click the bell so you'll get the notifications. And you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram.